Good morning and welcome. Before we begin our service, let us take a moment to share in our stone ritual. I place a stone for our joys. One for our sorrows. And one for our intentions for the coming week.
The UUCT care team follows up with congregants who are experiencing joys or sorrows. The care team also addresses needs of congregants. The care team can be contacted by email at careteam@uutampa.org. And now to our service.
Our opening words today are by Theodore Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss.
I like nonsense. It wakes up my brain cells.
Fantasy is a necessary ingredient in living. It's a way of looking at life through the wrong end of a telescope.
Which is what I do.
And that enables you to laugh at life's realities.
Welcome, everybody. Our first hymn today is number 188 in our gray hymnal, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair.
Our chalice lighting today was written by the Reverend Scott Taylor in the soft light of this flame.
In the soft light of this flame, may our lives shimmer anew.
May we notice new possibility in those relationships that seem lost. May the turning of year give birth to a dream. May the emerging light pull a new story into view.
May what is give way to what might be.
May we believe again in the world we imagine.
Who will I be?
Who will I be?
What will I see?
What will I see?
In this great world,
In this great world,
who could be free?
who could be free?
And what will I build?
What will I build?
What will I find?
What will I find?
My story begins
Story begins
inside my mind.
inside my mind.
Who will I be?
Who will I be?
And what will I see?
And what will I see?
In this great world,
In this great world,
who could be free?
who could be free?
What will I build?
What will I build?
And what will I find?
What will I find?
My story begins
Story begins
inside my mind,
inside my mind.
in my imagination.
My imagination.
What is an imagination? Lucy, do you know what imagination means?
I think imagination is what helps people create new things all the time. Because you can't create new things if you can't imagine what you want them to be.
That is absolutely true, Jacob. Everything human made was an idea first. You know, one of my favorite imaginers in history was Leonardo da Vinci. I loved that he imagined that human beings could fly hundreds of years before we figured out how to do it. And Dr. King is another great imaginer. His speeches about the dream that he had outlined a vision for how people could live better together in this country. It was all about having that vision first and then finding the words to communicate it, and then being inspired to certain actions that would bring it closer and closer to reality. Do you like to make up stories? When you play with your magnets or when you play with your babies? That's using your imagination, thinking of stories and characters who are doing things all inside your mind. It's amazing. We have movies playing in our minds all the time. And it's really important to be the director of our movies, to recognize that we can tell ourselves stories that make us feel good or stories that make us feel bad. And we get to choose which thoughts we have. We just have to practice deciding how we use our imaginations. Can you think of something that maybe doesn't exist yet, or that no one has ever seen, but that can make your life better or make the world better for those of us who are sharing it? I would love to know what kind of ideas you have about how the future could be, and that you're already starting to imagine, and that one day all of us will see. Who will I be?
Who will I be?
And what will I see?
And what will I see?
In this great world,
In this great world,
who could be free?
who could be free?
What will I build?
What will I build?
And what will I find?
What will I find?
My story begins
Story begins
inside my mind,
inside my mind.
in my imagination.
My imagination.
Please quiet your thoughts now, and as you are willing and able, let yourself center gently into your body. Our meditation, Soul Lifts, was written by Tess Baumberger. Wouldn't it be great if you could take a picture of your soul? Then when your mother wanted to brag about you, she could show people the picture and say, "That's my daughter. Doesn't she have a beautiful soul, all sparkly and many-colored and flowing all around her?" Wouldn't it be great if we walked around surrounded by our souls, so that they were the first things people saw instead of the last things? Then people would judge us by who we really are instead of how we look. Imagine no more racism, ageism, sexism, fatism, shortism, homophobia. Imagine falling in love with who a person is just by looking at them. It would be a kind of cloaking device, hiding physical faults, defects, or even perfections. I'd want it to be mandatory. Then people would work at making their souls more attractive instead of their bodies and faces. Imagine people knowing by your soul that you really need a hug. Imagine people helping each other and their souls changing color or growing. Imagine soul gyms with exercises to get your sagging soul in shape. Imagine the long lines forming for soul lifts at churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, or nature's grand cathedrals.
Hello, everyone. Now we're going to sing number 352, Find a Stillness. Find a stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
It is my honor to introduce our speaker, Aaron Powers. Aaron has served at UUCT for 8 years as the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth. In that time, she has grown deeply into her faith as a UU. Aaron serves the Southeast chapter of the Liberal Religious Education Association as past president and has served as president and vice president in the past. Aaron is passionate about racial justice, radical inclusion, and empowering our families to live their faith out loud. Outside of church work, Aaron enjoys crafting, cooking, and the outdoors. Aaron lives with her spouse John, his mother Claire, and their 2 youngest children, Sophie and Cece. Their oldest, Olivia, is venturing into adulthood in New Jersey, where she attends Montclair State University.
I often wonder what the future will look like. What things that we hold dear today will seem like folly of the past tomorrow. What once impossible imaginings will be commonplace. 2020 has shown us what is possible when we must make changes and make them fast. What will change in 2021? What might the future look like if we boldly follow our imaginings of a more just, more equitable, and more abundant future for all. I talked to some of our foremost experts on imagination, our young people, to hear what they imagine in a future that is just and equitable. They shared visions of collective care, of joy, of new ways of learning, and freedom from oppressions. What can we as adults do to help shepherd in this world that they dream about? I like how the Reverend Teresa I. Soto words it in their reflection, Remembering the Future, from their book, Spilling the Light. Can we develop a skill of remembering the future? Can we commit to build the community that will extend into a time that we only know by memory because it will outlast us? Memorize the compass points of the day yet to come, the truth, the love, the fire, the endless yes of the horizon. Shake the scales from your imagination. Reach, stretch, and rise. There is no more time for pretending that everything can be all right without your care, without your attention. End quote. Can we do this for our children, our collective children, the generations rising behind us who one day will be the leaders? Can we help to remember their imaginings and keep them alive? Can we make space for ways of doing and being that feel foreign because they come from a time that is just emerging? Can we get comfortable with following more and meddling less? This is not to discount the wisdom that comes with time spent on earth. It has tremendous value. And the wisdom that comes from our imaginations has value too. Our patriarchal systems have traditionally valued wisdom from sources other than age and stature less. What would our world look like if we valued the wisdom from our imaginations as much as that of any other? What would it look like if we boldly followed our ideals and worked to make them happen, no matter how far out they seem to our current world? One of the kids that I talked to said that in their future, there would be no criminals or racists. We already know that our current systems of policing overwhelmingly create criminals rather than offer justice. So much of what gets prosecuted as crime is rooted in systems of oppression. Insufficient opportunities for education, healthcare, childcare, housing, and employment is a leading factor in crime. Once someone has an interaction with law enforcement and then a record, these opportunities drop even more. There are indeed programs that are working to counteract these issues, but they're the exception rather than the rule. Overwhelmingly, our system of policing focuses on the symptoms rather than the root causes, thus creating a never-ending cycle that can be nearly impossible to escape from without extensive supports. Supports that are difficult to create on one's own. Phrases like defund the police and abolish prisons get a lot of response, much of it negative. Firstly, they are intended to get attention. We need to bring attention to these issues, and a lightning bolt phrase is certain to do it. And even when we agree on the actions behind the phrase, many of us still react strongly. But why? One of the things colonization has robbed us of is our collective imagination, the ability to dream as a nation, as a collective, to explore ideas that feel way out there, the ability to collectively look deeper and ponder what could be. It has robbed us of the ability to sit with things that make us uncomfortable and get to the root of it. Because colonization has a plan already, and it does not need input from the people. Thank you very much. But let's get beyond the initial shock of the idea of defunding the police or abolishing prisons. What if we wiped the slate clean and started over? How would we build systems to deal with harm perpetuated by our fellow peoples? Because we do know that even with the best of intentions, harm will happen. We are human, we make mistakes. We also deserve to be treated with dignity, even in our lowest moments. And creating more harm from harms done helps no one. But punitive justice is still the bedrock of our policing systems. In our churches, we use covenants to outline how we will be with each other and how we will come back together when we inevitably veer off course, when we inevitably cause harm. Our covenants are at their best when they help bring us back to each other. Imagine a world where covenants were commonplace. If I were to recreate this system, I would imagine a network of care, of support, of collective concern. A system where stealing is unnecessary because each person can easily acquire what is needed to not just survive, but to thrive. A system where harms can be fully healed and rectified, so retaliation feels like a ridiculous notion. A system focused on restoration of rights, dignity, and opportunities, restoration of community support and collective care, restoration of confidence and capabilities. Because I truly believe that each of us is doing the best we can with what we've got. And the truth is that many are caught up in systems that make accessing the basic needs for survival, let alone thriving, nearly impossible. We have the resources to do this differently. It's time to remember the future and help bring it to life. It's time to remember what seemed impossible in the past and imagine what impossible things we can make happen today and tomorrow. As adults, how can we help foster a world that encourages and values the imaginings of our young people? Our patriarchal society has not typically done this, but we have a choice every day on how we want to respond to our young people in our lives. Be it our children, our students, our young family members, even the little ones we see out and about. What difference would it make for our collective future if we treated our young people's ideas with as much respect as any adult? After all, our world today was once an imagining of all of us. Unfortunately, many of the ideals and practices that are in play today are from a time that no longer exists. And so we feel the discord of what could be versus what currently is. Defunding the police and abolishing prisons is just one of the many ideas of what our future could be. What systems are present in your life that could be reimagined for a future that our children dream about. A future of collective care and concern. A future free of oppressions and full of joy. The song, The Rainbow Connection, is a favorite of mine and many others. And besides its sweet melody, I think it calls to so many of us because it speaks to that longing for a world that lives in our imagination. The call to create it, to seek it out, to wish for it and believe it will come true. The call is in each of us. It shows up in myriad of ways. Maybe it's in your work or your art, your caregiving, your social justice actions, in your very existence. We long for a connection to something greater, to something we dream about. We long to see possibilities come to life. Our young people might just be the ones to guide us into a future we imagine. They can make the rainbow connection if we get out of the way and are wise enough to follow. And then someday we'll find it, the lovers, the dreamers, and me and you.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on a morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something lovers, the dreamers, and me. The lovers, the dreamers, and me.
To support the UUCT with your generous financial gifts, please go to the UUCT website and click on the Click Here link to donate. It will take you to our donation page, and you can securely make your donation to the church. Thank you.
We extinguish this flame,
but not the light of truth
the warmth of community.
or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Our closing words, an ending or merely prelude to more glorious beginnings, was written by the Reverend Michael A. Schuler. We have reached the end of this time for the gathering of memory and for letting the imagination play with future possibilities. Shall it be concluded then? Or will this adventure, now commenced, continue? Is this ending to be an ending, or merely prelude to new, more glorious beginnings? Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. Our hope for you is that the coming days are filled with kindness, imagination, and love. Blessed be.